Hi, everybody. Paul and Michael here. Today we want to talk about caregivers. Um, you have to go back a little bit here. We go back to the era of Ronald Reagan, who I'm not going to talk about politics, but he wasn't my favorite president for a number of reasons, but let's not get into that. But one thing he did do, and some other politicians did, was they eliminated uh, federal funding for uh, shelters and facilities for those with mental illness and mental disabilities, health care facilities. So they pretty much just wiped those out. And I know that some of those weren't so perfect, but some of them were very good. And some of them provided a, a quality place for people with mental disabilities and mental illness to live as adults. Um, that has done a number of things, and we're seeing the real impact of that right now, and I'm afraid it's going to get worse. We're seeing more and more homeless. That's one thing. And we're seeing more and more stress on people who already have extremely stressful jobs: first responders, police, firefighters, EMTs. These people are already terribly overworked, and now they're dealing with calls where they have to handle somebody, an adult, who has a mental disability, mental illness, and they have no one to care for them. Maybe they're having a meltdown, and these people have to try and help these people on the street or people sometimes in a caregiver's home where the caregiver can't control them. In short, what we have is terrible strain on caregivers, first responders, our hospitals, and our prisons because we've eliminated these mental facilities. And it's especially hard on caregivers and families of those who have a family member with special needs, adults. We tend to pass these people down the line through school. They don't really get the help they need, usually because nobody wants to pay for it. Kids who have mental disabilities and mental illness, although it's better than it is for adults. We do address the problem. And I'm in no way attacking people who work in the mental health field. This is not their fault. I'm attacking the system. I'm attacking the way most people in this country view mental disabilities and mental illness. Caregivers are really feeling the brunt of this because we have our adult kids we're taking care of 24/7. And especially with this pandemic, we're not getting any days off, no help, and it's a struggle. You know, it's a real blessing a lot of the time to spend time with Michael. I mean that. He's changed my life for the better, and he's taught me a lot, and I've grown a lot from being a caregiver. But it's tough too. I have high blood pressure now. I take anxiety and antidepressants, anxiety medication and antidepressants. I'm having some other health problems, and a lot of it is because of stress. And there are a lot of families like that. A lot of families out there are really hurting. It's tough being a caregiver, and we all need some help. Now, fortunately, New York State has told us we are going to start getting some services now, which is a huge relief. Probably in January, Michael will start getting some, hopefully, hours out in the community with small groups of people that he has something in common with, which he's missed terribly. And me, as a caregiver, I can get some time to do some things around the house and relax a little bit and, cut the grass, shovel the snow, whatever needs to be done. I can get that done now. It's been very difficult to do any of that, caring for Michael. But we have to do something about what's going on in this country with taking care of adults who have special needs, and it's not going to get any better because the first thing to be cut in any federal or state budget is funding for usually adults who have some kind of disability or especially mental illness, and we tend to treat people with mental illness as criminals in this country. I hear so many people say, oh, they're just lazy, they're druggies, Well, let's think about this. There's somebody who has a mental illness and they're not getting the help they need. So what do? Well, maybe they end up living on the street and they start getting whatever they can get on the street to self-medicate. So yeah, they may be drug addicts, but they're not lazy and they're not trying to be a drug addict. They're desperate, and that's the heart of the problem. We're not helping. We're not addressing the root of the problem. We're putting tremendous strain on all these parts of our society. Prisons, our homeless numbers just keep increasing, and we're seeing a lot of people who are already working very hard who are now having to try and care for people who don't have anyone to care for them. People who really haven't done anything wrong. It's not their fault they have a mental disability or mental illness. But as a society, we're pretty much just turning our backs on them. And that's got to change. I've done another video where I talk about how people have to change the way they view people with mental illness and mental disabilities. But we also have to look at all the money that is being wasted. Think about how much money could be used for good things if we didn't have to have so many people in prison. So many people in prison have mental illness or mental disabilities because nobody knows what to do with them. So we don't have mental facilities. Nobody wanted to pay for those. Well, look at the penalties. We've got overcrowded prisons. We've got lots of police, and we always say, "Oh, we can't afford to pay all these police and these firefighters." Well, guess what? They're overloaded. They can't handle this job. There's too much for them to deal with. They shouldn't be dealing with people who have mental illness and mental disabilities. That should be done by people who are trained to handle people like that. And while we're on that subject, we also need to work at getting medical people who are trained in how to deal with people who have a severe mental illness or severe mental disability. We don't have enough of that. In fact, it's very hard for me to get a doctor who has any training at all for Michael with his disability. And I won't even go into dentists. We've had a terrible time with dentists not wanting to treat somebody with a mental disability. We have to work at getting medical personnel trained better at handling people who have special needs. And again, that's really a problem when we get to the adult years. Once you get into your child reaches about age 22, you find that all of a sudden there isn't much help at all out there. You're pretty much on your own, and that needs to change. And right now we got all these politicians who have, they've got their special agendas, and they're gonna, they're so worked up about making it so people can't vote, and they're all worked up about this and that, and they're gonna do this and that for everybody, and they're gonna make us into the same kind of Christian they are. But nobody's talking about what are we doing to help people, and I don't hear much talk about that at all. In fact, I don't see many positive things coming out of our government right now, period. So we need to make some noise about this, and we especially need to speak up not only for those who have special needs, but we need to speak up for caregivers and families who are taking care of people. We really need to get decent mental health care at least started in this country. It's pretty sad. And again, I'm not talking about the people who work in mental health care. I'm talking about funding for it and supporting it, and most of all, people understanding and accepting it, that mental health is every bit as important, if not more important, than physical health. We've got to take care of people up here too. So I hope that's something to think about. And caregivers, hang in there. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. Would love to hear from you. We're on Twitter, and we have a lot of people who follow us and give us a lot of support. And frankly, I don't know if we would have made it through the pandemic without you. So thank you very much. And please, this is going to be on my POV, which I really like. It's a video platform with lots of interesting topics and people talking about important things. So please sign up for my POV and get involved. And let's all try to make a difference. Okay? And thank you very much for watching. I know I kind of rambled on a lot, but this is important. And I don't like to write a script. That's boring. So Michael and I say so long. You say bye? Bye. And we'll see you later.